Namaskar, I'm Dr. Pooja Jha Nair, rehabilitation psychologist.
And Namaskar, I'm Rakesh Ji Nair. I'm also a rehabilitation psychologist.
And welcome to our Journal Cafe. So last time we got the opportunity to discuss about a very wonderful and a very recent research article. In my known group, when I had inquired that what other topics you would like to listen, visual perception was one thing which came up. And I was going through certain research articles in last 10 days. I have selected one, though it's not a very recent one. It was published in the year 1999. Wow, that's almost like more than 2 decades. But I still selected that. This research article is wonderfully talking about visual perception and separating this notion from visual awareness, also called subjective visual perception. This question, Rakesh, was always in my mind, that why children with autism, who are known for their capacity to do visual puzzles, to sort out any jigsaw puzzle what we give them, do so many visual sequencing activities, but then why they are not able to observe a mom's smile, human being when they are interacting around them, not able to copy those behaviors which are visually present in front of them. So yes, this doubt was always in my mind, that there is something which is very subjective, and that's what make it different from myself to maybe Rakesh visual perception, or how does he looks at things when it is presented to him. The article, which is with the title of Covariation of Activities in the Visual and Prefrontal Cortex and its association with subjective visual perception. As I said, the article was published in 1999 in the Journal of Neurobiology, and the authors are Eric D. Leumer and Geraint Rees. We are providing you the details of the title and the research work. Please, you can go through for the details. So Rakesh, coming to this article, what you could understand, if I say as in very simple words, my interest was only to know that how sensory input for the visual perception is different from relating it with different kinds of experiences and making own experiences, subjective experiences through this visual input. So the subjective or your own perspective, or creating your own mindset about something which you are seeing. Can you tell us a bit about this article, Rakesh?
See, it's a wonderful introduction that you have given. Let me tell you that first, because it gives you an idea about what we are going to talk, and many will be having the doubt that why we have selected this topic or this this particular journal or article, research article for that matter, which is quite an old one. This still has a relevance. Many aspects of this, as you rightly said, regarding certain conditions that we are dealing with, I felt that it has very much of a relevance to children with ADHD as well as children with autism. Okay, as you said, as you already narrated, that with children with autism, the subjective, why the perception changes, why they are able to, while we were discussing earlier, we were discussing like why they are able to match a puzzle, whereas they are not able to make out a face or the changes in a face of a person. Why that happens? We may call it as emotional recognition ability or facial recognition, all these things which AI, artificial intelligence, is also using nowadays. But whereas on the contrary, a child with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is able to scan a particular thing within no time, and his perception of events becomes much marked than when you ask him a response. Many of our teachers will agree to it, that a child with ADHD who is supposed to be hyperactive, he or she will just be able to scan through it and will be able to give an answer in no time. and the rest of the time they become troublemakers. Usually they are perceived so.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so now coming back to this article. So that's about the relevance of this. So this is by, as you said, Dr. Eric D. Lummer and Gerian Reis. They have conducted in the, this is a study which is conducted in London, in the University College of London. Of course, there are many changes to the perceptions which the scientific evidences nowadays regarding certain areas. It is not that it has been completely changed what they have mentioned over here, but there has been certain other areas which has been added to it, or certain other intricate areas which has been added to the present study in the latest researches which I have gone through. So this talks about the co-variation of activity. So what it is, how the activity, the visual activity changes with in the prefrontal cortex with the subject, how that changes with the perception of a person.
Okay.
So visual perception is nothing but you add meaning to whatever visual stimulus that goes inside.
Exactly.
So it can be subjective. So what is the demarcating aspects which makes a subjective aspect to it, or the perception? It is different in each individual. How that is unique. It was considered that the visual pathway, like the traditional visual pathway is like the eyes take in the information, it goes to the thalamus, for certain memory aspect, it goes to the cortex, and then some prefrontal cortex involvement is there, and you see it. That's all. In this particular study, they have gone a little bit more to it, into the striate cortex.
Okay.
Okay, and extrastriate centers also. So it is an fMRI study.
Yes.
Okay.
I had
so
read that.
they have made some protocols, and they have tried to test with rivalry.
Okay.
So there is a term called as binocular rivalry, wherein when you change, when you close monocular and binocular, when you close one eye and you present the stimuli and suddenly change that, the previous image and this image, there will be a delay in perception.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, there will be a small changes in perception or a delay in perception, and the understanding, the perception of one event which was already there to the perception of the next frame or the next presented image, whatever it was. So that delay is being measured, and how much time that is been measured by the fMRI and other methods wherein the changes are being observed. It is, usually the perception happens around 13 milliseconds.
Yes.
Okay, so it is that short. And to capture that, they have done a very good study in that aspect in those days. The thing is, they are saying what they have come up with is, it is not only that a particular prefrontal cortex involvement is only there. Okay, they have come up with involvement of parietal.
Yes.
Parietal cortex,
and
which is the hub of all sensory experiences.
Yes.
The involvement of that.
Yes.
Okay, and what do you call striatal? As I told you, the striatal and extra striatal regions.
I was reading, Ragesh, in this article something like occipitotemporal aspect also. Am I right?
Definitely. See, when they say that, how we perceive is across time and space. You know that.
Yes.
Right. So here the temporal aspect means it's with regard to the time.
Oh,
it's not the temporal involvement.
Wow. Okay.
Because already the meaning or the all other coordination of things happens at the parietal region.
Okay.
Okay. Of all the it can be called as the hub of sensory coordination activities.
Yes.
Okay. So, and the executive control is done by the cortex and prefrontal and frontal regions. Okay.
Okay.
They have clearly come out with areas in those days itself that it is like, I'll just read out the areas, like it is posterior fusiform gyrus, anterior fusiform gyrus.
Okay.
Posterior as well as anterior.
Anterior, okay.
Okay. Temporal gyrus. it's not the temporal region as such, but the temporal gyrus, along the areas along the temporal gyrus and occipital gyrus, as you rightly said, and inferior parietal lobule.
Okay.
So it's the under aspect
Under
of
the
it,
aspect,
of it, and superior frontal and precentral sulcus, middle frontal gyrus, inferior frontal gyrus, as well as the insula.
My God, so Rakesh, you mean to say that in order to create one visual perception experience, so many parts of the brain are working together?
It is the perception.
It is the perception.
And later studies has come out with even subdued areas of this.
Wow.
So there are many which we don't understand. It's always said like, okay, there is more to
explore about the brain.
That's what.
So lovely, very nice. So Rakesh, tell me one thing. I understand that, you know, maybe once again, like this research or this journal cafe is also for parents, for teachers, and we have no intention to confuse you with any of these terminologies. But what we want to communicate over here is that only the frontal or the prefrontal aspect of the brain, the area of the brain, is not involved in the meaning, just the meaning. We all know that human brain works beyond a direct meaning. You create your own experiences around it, and this is what is lacking in autism. Rakesh, what was the result? Can you tell us in very simple words?
Yeah, it is. Yes, as you said, I would like to add on to that. The basic purpose of this journal cafe is to make articles or scientific publications simple in a very understandable way, which can be consumed and which can be made to be used in the real-time applications. Because as long as this remains in the paper and in higher intellectual levels, it doesn't make sense. That's why we need it is more or less like a discussion wherein we connect with what is happening or how it can be made to be used in intervention programs for persons who are in need. Okay, so coming back to your question, like what is the conclusion is that it is like they have acknowledged the prefrontal as well as the occipital and parietal involvement in this.
And the extra striate also?
Of course, and they have given importance or the more of prominence of extrastriatal as well as striatal gyrus, regions in this. It helps in a broader integration of the information. Exactly. That's what I really liked it, which intake and it is a reciprocation. That is another major term that they have come up with. It is a reciprocation of the events which creates an integration of information which in turn helps the behavior. So it becomes a complete cycle.
Complete cycle.
Hence, what I would like to conclude over here, or what I would take from this, it is like the more experiences, worthwhile experiences you create in terms of visual as well as non-visual, it can be auditory or anything or a combination of many things.
True.
It adds on to your visual perception. Okay.
Yes.
And the more better or clarity of visual perception will add on to the person. I mean, your self-image as well. It goes up to that level. How you are being perceived and how you perceive yourself, all these things are related to this. They have just mentioned some of the studies.
How beautiful. I am still lost, Rakesh, or you can say even that I am mesmerized with the beauty of brain, that there are things which are happening at the hardware level, and we as human being around, we create this beautiful software called mind, which has all the visual, auditory, touch related senses. All sensory informations are getting converted into experiences. We remember them and we use them.
And to add on to that, it is like even it is so important, or it is so, as I would take your word of mesmerizing. Nowadays, it is latest researchers are saying that it is like a visual information processing. If you do properly, or if you are able to map it properly, you can predict the IQ of a person.
Oh, wow.
Because it all depends on how effectively you are able to delineate visual information from the foreground and the background. How we are able to, we call it as visual attention, isn't it?
Yeah, on the figure ground perception
exactly. So that if you can just analyze that, that itself can predict a person's intellectual level.
I would agree. I would agree. And you know, Rakesh, if we want, we can have another one-day discussion on it. But I know that we have limited time, and we would be very happy if in the comment box you people can let us know that if anyone else has come across any studies in the similar area with children who are having autism spectrum disorder. This will really help us to go through the details that really anybody has done fMRI on children with autism to understand whether these areas are networking appropriately or not. So we will take a goodbye from here and see you in our next episode of Journal Cafe.
We would always welcome comments from you, suggestions from you any day. Thanks a lot for watching. Namaste.